Hello, my name is Jenny Jones. I am the founder and director of the Treehouse Agile Learning community in St. George, Utah. The Treehouse is currently a 3-day per week center for self-directed learning serving homeschoolers ages 5 to 12. We're located in Bloomington in St. George, Utah. And we are excited to build a teen program that our current students would be able to age into. And we look forward to serving other St. George families with teens who are looking for ways to further their education using methods that are true to their needs and values. In Agile Learning, we value collaboration, so while this meeting will start with a presentation from me, it will end with some discussion to help us discover the needs and goals of the families that would consider participating. Whether or not you decide that the Treehouse is the right fit for your family, I hope that this presentation will equip you with knowledge of the different options that are available to teens, especially to homeschooling teens. So to get started, I'd just like to introduce you a little bit to how we do things already at the Treehouse. The Treehouse is a space designed for exploration, creativity, and collaboration. We have monthly meetings where we brainstorm things that we want to learn or new things we want to try, ways we want to use our monthly budget to foster learning, skill building, and friendship. Our space includes a wood shop, a maker space with 3D printer and sewing machine, a library, kitchen, audio-visual studio, computer lab, greenhouse, and outdoor space. And we have chickens coming this spring. So at the Treehouse, we are following sort of a methodology, a philosophy called Agile Learning. And this is based on 4 principles, as you see here. The first is that learning is natural and it happens all the time. So Treehouse families understand that learning can happen here or at home, and that learning is a joy and an opportunity, and that you almost can't keep it from happening. Growth happens in cycles of intention, action, sharing, and reflection. So this process is cyclical, but it's not always linear. And so as facilitators, we're always watching to see that those 4 pieces of the puzzle are being represented. And when a learner starts to become a little stagnant or the community feels stagnant, we look and see which of those pieces seems to be lacking. And sure enough, once you introduce it again, it just sort of kicks everything back into gear. The third principle is that we learn more from the culture in which we are immersed than from the content which is presented. And so at the Treehouse, we focus first on creating a space where, 1, it feels safe to explore and to try new ideas, and 2, where we celebrate learning and doing and trying, and that's something that we share in community, and that's also something that we can support learners to do on their own. And last is that people learn best when they choose to learn, and that children are people too. So as adults, we understand that we can't really be forced to learn something, but that when we want to learn it, we can apply ourselves and we can learn it. And so children are people too, although we sometimes forget to give them that opportunity to choose their learning. So those are the 4 philosophies that guide us, and then this is sort of the nuts and bolts of what a day looks like and the tools we use to live that philosophy. So the first is that we use project management boards to teach the skills of that cyclical growth, right? So we use these project management boards to help set intentions, to create plans of action, to begin the action, right? And then also we look back on them to reflect and to possibly iterate on the idea. And these are handled, if you jump down to that third one, these are something we look at when we do these one-on-one check-ins. These help increase accountability for self-directed learners. It also allows the mentor to encourage some perseverance and also to find better ways to support learners in their goals. Jumping back up to the second tool there, we use community boards. So we have a large community board where learners and facilitators can both offer, and they can also request, learning opportunities called offerings. So as it says there, these can be offered by facilitators when it's a skill that learners are asking for, but it also is an opportunity for learners to teach things that they've learned and to share their skills with their peers. And then at the bottom, this is our new system. We have started a merit badge style program. It's catered to the interests and goals of the learners in the community. We call them power-up pins, and we celebrate monthly the pins that have been earned by community members. And at this pinning party, we also provide the opportunity to share projects that they've been working on during the month, if they so choose, and we call these masterpieces. So that is the basic gist of how things currently run at the Treehouse with ages 5 to 12. And so, of course, as they age up into the teen years, they have some unique needs that start to develop. And so these are the needs that we are considering addressing as we create our teen program. So some of these would include increased autonomy to prepare for adulthood, making plans for continuing education, and of course the means to be accepted into those opportunities, which is of course not only like the skills and the knowledge, but the actual paperwork, right, to be able to get into college or different post-high school programs. Higher level intellectual challenges. So the power-up pins might challenge up to age 12, maybe even 13 and 14. But of course, around 14, they can start taking some harder, more challenging coursework. And we want them to be able to have those opportunities to challenge themselves intellectually. The next one would be that they need some space. It might be physical space, but it also might be space of time, right, to try larger projects that might last longer or require more resources. So an example of this would be, if a group of teens wanted to start a food truck, that would be a really exciting project that we would love to help facilitate. The next one is leadership opportunities, which we do provide already, but of course, as they get older, more long-term type leadership opportunities, skills that would transfer into the workplace. So we really are passionate about providing real-world experience and real-world learning. And then the last one there is just greater clarity on the opportunities that are available to them post-high school, but also knowing themselves well enough to start to get a vision of what they want to pursue based on their interests and their skills. So those are the needs that we see that teens, including our own children as they're moving into those ages as well, that we would want to be addressing in a teen group. So as we think about, one of those needs was what are their post-high school opportunities. I just wanted to give some information about the different pathways to college that are available, especially to homeschoolers. So the first one here is that a lot of universities are now sharing their online coursework for anyone to enroll. So they have these affordable, they would be considered concurrent enrollment for high schoolers, but these are available universally. In fact, they call them universal students. Or universal learners. So community members in the Treehouse teen group would be able to take one of these types of classes. And it's $25. So even if you don't choose the Treehouse, this is an opportunity you have for your teen. So it's $25 to take a course. And then at the end of the course, they have a year to decide whether or not they want to transcript that course, meaning if the course went well and they're satisfied with their grade, they can pay an additional $400, and this becomes a college credit on a college transcript. Generally, once you have 6 credits, you can be a transfer student, so you no longer even need a high school diploma. You just take your college transcript and become a transfer student to whatever college you choose. So that's a really awesome opportunity. The nice thing there, of course, is you pay $25, you get to experience what a college class is like. And if it doesn't go well, you can take it again, or you can just say that you're out $25 and you've learned that that's a topic you're not that interested in, or that you're not quite ready for it. So it's a really great way to sort of test the waters of college. And those can start being taken depending on the school and depending on how you are reporting your child, whether they're a homeschooler or if they're using like a Utah Fits All scholarship, could affect the age they're allowed to do it, but it's anywhere from 14 to 16. The second one there is an accredited high school diploma through Wonder Ed. So Wonder Ed is a universally accredited school out of Florida. And through their platform, what we would be able to do is assimilate the data, basically, of all the things that the students are doing, whether that's projects they did at home, projects they're doing through a co-op, maybe a class that they took through Utah Tech or through the high school, and then, of course, their projects that they're doing at the Treehouse. They would be able to assimilate that into their database, and their database will figure out which boxes on the state's standards checklist would be, checked off by those types of activities. And so as they check those things off, Wonder Ed is creating it's called a portfolio transcript is what they would be creating. So there's not grades and there's not GPA, although they have the capability to do that if you would like. But what they would graduate with is called a portfolio transcript. And they did just this last year have a student get accepted into Brown University using her portfolio transcript. So it's a legitimate transcript. And in fact, they're finding that some universities prefer them because it paints just a much clearer picture of the student's abilities and their work ethic compared to grades, which, are kind of hard to compare apples to apples. So this is the Wonder Ed program that we would be partnering with, and that would be an option for our teen students. The next one there is that many universities are starting to actually actively recruit homeschoolers because they're finding that homeschoolers tend to be self-directed learners, self-starters, have some good study habits because they've kind of already experienced choosing to learn, and they're engaged. And so they're actually adjusting their admission requirements to make it easier for homeschoolers to apply without having a diploma, or they'll accept that. As we jump down to the very last one there are also many universities that will just accept a homeschool diploma, which is a transcript created by the parent. And there are tools online to be able to make those. So anything, whatever path that, makes sense for your family, I would be your partner in helping you achieve that. And then the last thing would be, of course, sometimes those homeschool admissions just require like an essay and an ACT or an SAT score. And so we would do some prep classes there, or help facilitate students who wanted to take those classes. So as you can see, there are many ways to launch your teen from your homeschool education. And we would love to partner with you as you try to facilitate that for them. So I will explain just a little more in detail how Wonder Ed would work, because this would be an option for Treehouse students. So basically, Wonder Ed, the student, they sort of reverse engineer your path, right? So a student would choose a career or a college path that they're considering. And then, acting as a school counselor, basically, Wonder Ed would find what the requirements are for that path and build what kind of transcript they would need to get in. And then from that list that their program generates, students would then be able to start checking off things that they're already doing. things that they enjoy, things that they're planning to learn or try to do. So, for example, a child who does a lot of athletics, it doesn't make sense for them to also need to get a PE class to get a credit, right? So it's that sort of thing. Or a child who just naturally does a lot of creative writing. They're going to be able to check some of those boxes with things that they're already working on rather than having to take a language arts class. So this is, so those are kind of the first two steps. So based on what the student's already doing or plans to, wants to do, they start checking some of those boxes. And then WonderEd would generate sort of a roadmap for the other things that the student isn't sort of naturally meeting. And they would include on there, suggested ways to meet those requirements. And so they have several partners, including OutSchool and different online programs that they can offer as part of their program. And so students can choose, for example, they can say, well, that OutSchool class sounds fun. And it would tell them, if you take these 2 OutSchool classes, that's your credit. And so students can kind of pick and choose the ways they want to check those boxes. And we would help them make those choices and help them make the plans for how they're going to meet those requirements. They don't have to do only online options. They also could do it through a curriculum, like a book curriculum. Then the student, with the help of the mentor, which would be the Treehouse, we would be their mentor, they would choose from those options recommended, or they would design their own projects to meet these requirements. And then basically this roadmap that they have been given, they drive it at their own pace. So they'll be guided and encouraged by the mentor and by the parent, however far into it the parent wants to be involved. But the map would be there, and so they can drive it quickly, or they can drive it slowly, and they can catch up when they decide they're ready to be launching out of the nest. So those are our options that we have available as far as what we can use to prepare students for their post-high school life. So here is the cost information if you would like to start considering what this might look like for your family. So currently our 3-day-a-week program is $6,000 for the year at the Treehouse. If a student were to choose to take the concurrent enrollment courses, those online university classes, they would be paying $400 per credit if they choose to transcript that class. And there may be a small fee for the WonderEd program if you decided that you wanted to go the route of getting a traditional high school diploma. Well, it's not fully traditional, a portfolio style high school diploma, but standardized, right, recognized by the state. So the structure of this partnership is still in the works. So I can't give you a number on that yet, but most likely they will have their own per student fee that would be added to the $6,000 tuition for the Treehouse. We are Utah Fits All vendors, and so it's payable by Utah Fits All. We also are approved through Harmony Education. OpenEd has changed their structure, and so we are considered a third-party vendor for them and can be considered third-party for all subjects, which means their full $2,000 can be put towards Treehouse tuition. And we also were awarded a grant this year that we're very excited about that allows us to offer some financial aid to give some extra scholarships and start building this teen program for those who need that. So, having given all of that information, I'm just going to do a short little Q&A if you would like to hear a few more questions and answers. So the question was asked, would students be able to do like sort of a hybrid public school, take certain public school classes and still be able to do WonderEd? So as far as WonderEd being able to incorporate a public school class credit into their diploma? My guess is yes, but I'm definitely going to reach out to them to clarify if that's something that's already set up in their platform. The only place where that would be something to sort of debate whether or not you want to do that, that I can see, is if you wanted to use Utah Fits All funding. If you want to use Utah Fits All funding, then you cannot be enrolled in a public school class as like a part-time student. You have to treat the school as a vendor to the scholarship and then pay for that class. So you would be using part of your scholarship funds. So let's say they want to do orchestra or a choir, this sort of these large group things that, of course, our community can't facilitate for you. You would pay, right now I think it's $1,000 for a full year class, $500 for a semester. So you would pay that from your Utah Fits All scholarship. And then that credit would be reported, probably most likely self-reported to WonderEd, and then WonderEd would be able to check that box. So there wouldn't be any problem really as far as like you double dipping in schools or something. It would just be that Utah Fits All needs to, you would have to use Utah Fits All the way that Utah Fits All requires. The other place that it would maybe get tricky with funding is if you were wanting to use OpenEd or Harmony, although I do believe both of those programs allow for some sort of hybrid enrollment, but it would cut into your funding, as far as I know. So that's just the thing that you would have to consider if you wanted to do some of their schooling through the public school. Okay, the question was asked, how do you choose between those different paths that would be available for your student? So the things that I would consider, one is, what are the opportunities that you want them to have available to them and the opportunities that they, would genuinely consider. For example, if your child is thinking, I'm most likely just going to go to, I hate to even say just, right? But their plan is to go to a state university. Those schools have certain requirements, right? And so you would be able to look at those requirements. And then you can sort of decide, do we want to meet their requirements by getting a diploma, which means we need to check these boxes, within the time frame that you have available until you would like to be able to apply for college. And then the other option would be, do you want to test the waters of college and just jump right into some college classes for $25 a class? If the student feels like they would, they're willing to try sort of an online model, that's a great way to do it. Now you could do in-person classes at Utah Tech as well as concurrent enrollment, and I'm happy to start looking into how that works. I just know that the system for those online Universal Learner classes are designed so well. So if Utah Tech has something similar where you can sort of audit the class and then later decide that you want the credit, then definitely it would be nice to have the option to do some in-person classes as well. So to me, what it would come down to is, do you want to, first of all, how comfortable are you as the parent with sort of a fluidity in the timeline of your student following the path, right? So they're going to have this checklist, they're going to be working on it, they're going to be checking in with us, but of course there's going to be some trial and error where they say, yeah, I'm going to do this math program and I'm going to work on it this many times a week or this many hours a week, and then they start falling behind. Of course, some of the learning that's happening is them realizing what works and doesn't work for them as a self-directed learner. And so you might see for a little while some floundering. And so you definitely want to be on board with the fact that, their timeline might not look like other public school kids. The other reason their timeline might not look like it is they might lean really heavily into one subject that is coming to them easily and interesting them, and it's just like clicking for them, right? So they might lean really heavily into math, or they might lean really heavily into one area, and then Wonder Ed tells me that, they sometimes see students get to about age 16, 17, and they realize, like, I want to move out of my house. And so they look at that list and go, yeah, now I have to buckle down. And it's like it suddenly they just start checking away at those boxes. But if that's going to make you as a parent really uncomfortable, then this might not be, then the diploma might not be the right path for you. Or it might just be something that you're going to have to grow into a little bit. And then, of course, there's some students that want to stay up with their peers. So you would want to check that too. How comfortable is your child with not staying sort of on par with what, the public school kids are doing? They might want to stay on par, and therefore, will just stay on top of that checklist. It really depends on their personality. But those are the kinds of factors that I would be considering is how comfortable you and your child are with sort of a fluidity in their timeline and a fluidity in which subjects get done when. They could put in a whole year where, like, they just don't do language arts, but they do a ton of math, right? And they would have that option with Wonder Ed. The other question that definitely will need to be discussed as we move forward with the Teen Pod is how involved parents want to be. We can see a program where parents wouldn't need to be involved at all. But of course, only coming 3 days a week, most likely they're going to do some of that work at home. And so we can facilitate that here by having, sort of like a work day, some work hours where we're here available more as tutors, but they, come with their laptop and are working on their more academic endeavors. But I have found that in those 3 days, because it's a short amount of time, they definitely tend to prioritize the community opportunities, so the community learning, the collaboration projects, the social opportunities, the field trips, and so the next question, of course, would be when they're working on it at home, how well will they do on their own, and are you comfortable letting them, like I said, maybe flounder for a little bit, but they'll be, regularly checking in with us as their mentor? Or do you have the type of relationship and the type of time on your hands where you would be able to say, they're going to do this college course, but I want to still kind of be their homeschool parent and help facilitate that in my own home. So those are things to consider and discuss. And then I would love to hear what you're looking for and see if we can find a cohort of families that will work together to that we can meet the same kinds of needs. Okay, the next question was, what sort of schedule would the teen pod have? So as of right now, the oldest students we have are 12, and so if I were to just create the pod for them and continue growing what we have, basically what we would do is we've got more young kids coming in, and so we would have a facilitator over the younger group, and then we would have a facilitator over the older group, but they would still all come at the same time. So we would keep the Tuesday through Thursday schedule. Drop-off can start as early as 9, but our official hours are from 10 to 2. As students get older, some other micro school founders are finding that teens, around 15, 16, more 16 and up, that's when they start getting jobs, or they just have maybe they have they're just going to start taking a more full load of college classes. They want some sort of opportunity to collaborate with peers, but they don't necessarily want to meet regularly with a class. And so that's something that maybe the Teen Pod would grow into, is a little bit more of a flexible system. But for right now, I'm picturing that up to at least age 15, we would be able to keep them together in a 3-day-a-week schedule. The only difference being if we were to create the optional sort of tutor hours that would be either on Monday or Friday, for them to, if they needed that additional support to make their more academic endeavors happen. So that's something, again, that I would love to get feedback from interested families, if that's a need that would be helpful for you in facilitating this Teen Pod. Okay, I think this will be our last question for right now. It's what should you do next if you're interested? So the first thing is we have an application form. This application form just helps us to sort of evaluate community fit. If you want to first come tour the space if you haven't seen it yet, or if you even want to do like a visiting day so that your student can kind of get a feel for how we run things here, we are happy to do like a trial day or a tour. So you just need to email me to schedule those. My email address is thetreehouse.alc@gmail.com. And then once you have done your application, we also have a financial aid application if you would like to apply for one of our scholarships. You will also want to apply for Utah Fits All in March when their applications open up, if that is a program you are wanting to use for your tuition. And even if you're going to apply for Utah Fits All, I highly recommend that you also apply for at least one of the reimbursement program options, which would be Open Ed or Harmony Education. Now, all three of those do have reporting requirements. They're fairly simple right now, and I'm happy to walk you through that. But the reporting, I can facilitate the reporting, but the reporting itself is done by the parent. So I take tons of photos of the kids as we do different things, and so I can share those photos, and I regularly do share the photos, but so the photo, you'd have access to those photos and you can use those for your reporting, but as far as like the actual turning in the report, that's done by the parent. So that's another thing to consider if you're deciding to use one of those programs for funding. So like I said, application, financial aid application, apply for any of the funding opportunities if you're planning on using those. And then once we've done, either a visiting day or you've seen the space and you've applied and it feels like a good fit for both parties, then we have an enrollment form which you fill out. There's a $50 registration fee of sorts to hold their spot, and that gets applied to the tuition when tuition comes due. Tuition can be paid monthly. There is a 20%, so $1,200 upfront payment that is due before school starts, which we follow the public school calendar. So we'll be starting mid-August this year, and we follow, we do the same holidays and breaks as the public school. So there's that $50 fee that will be put towards that. Then you can pay the $1,200 up front, and then that makes it $600 a month for the next 8 months. So you don't have to do any payments in May. We do have you sign a contract that says that if for any reason you need to unenroll your student, that you will give a 30-day notice or pay one more month of tuition. We have that right now just because we may have already started buying things for the student, whether that's supplies or paying for the courses that they're taking, or bought different tickets for field trips and things that we're doing. So that's sort of the next steps. So like I said, the treehouse.alc@gmail.com if you have any questions, or if you would like to schedule a tour or a visiting day, I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for coming, and we will be in touch.